Hello, learner friends. Greetings to you all. I am G. Hannah, lecturer in English, Government Degree College, Satyavedu. It is my pleasure to invite you to this learning module on vocabulary building word groups. The objective of this module is to demonstrate a strategy to build up a repository of vocabulary. To meet this objective, we'll first look into the introduction, and then there would be a demonstration of vocabulary building strategy that I would like to introduce. And then finally, we'll apply the learning of this module to learn synonyms and antonyms extensively. As the outcomes of this learning module, the learner will acquire knowledge of psychological perception of vocabulary, will be equipped with a strategy to build a repository of words, and will be able to apply the strategy and learn extensive range of words. As we begin, I wish you a happy and productive learning. Have a look at what we will go through in the introduction. English language is an ever-growing language with at least a few thousand new words being added to its lexicon every decade. With ever-increasing lexicon, it becomes an obligation for English language users to build up their vocabulary so as to avoid any obstacle in communicating or comprehending communication. English word bank is very dynamic and it may not be possible to learn all the words, but to have a good stock of vocabulary and build up that stock by pursuing new words is very essential and effective unit of language. If a learner is interested, there are a number of sources to learn new words from, like the newspapers, the magazines, the books, to the talks and to textbooks. And there are also a variety of methods. Let's consider few of the methods that people adopt to learn new words. Usually, when a student comes across a new word, we use a dictionary to look up for the meaning of the word and its usage. Language learners at beginner level can also use Pictionary. Topical cue cards or flashcards, wherein words associated to one particular topic are on the card and topic-wise words are learned. When we encounter a new word in a context, there are all possibility that the words are understood with the help of the clues given in the context. New words are also approached and learned through word root, prefixes and suffixes, to the etymology of the word, that is to learn the origin and the history of the word, through confusing pairs of words, homophones and homographs and homonyms. Sometimes we also learn words through the word formation method. New words are also approached with one word substitution method, verbal analogies, and idioms and phrases. How many of these methods have you used to develop your own vocabulary? Hope you found these methods effective to learn as many number of words as you ever wanted to. But now, I want you to recollect and review how you approach the words and how the new words and the meaning got registered in your mind. To help you review, I have a few questions which you can try answering. When you came across a new word, did you look up the word in a dictionary? Or did you dissect the word and analyze its meaning in parts? Did you study the origin and the history of the word? Or you just assume the meaning without much consideration? There is also a probability that you have attempted an intelligent guess of the word by the context. You might have used any of these methods or probably even employed yet another method to learn the meaning of the word. Recollect and try to make a note of it. I'll give you an example as well. Say, for example, you learned this new word 2 years back. The word is sanctum. If you had gone by the dictionary method, the dictionary would have given you this meaning: a sacred place or a holy place. If you had gone to the origin and the history of the word, you would have understood that sanctum comes from a Latin word sanctus, to consecrate, and it has a historical story of Jewish tabernacle having three parts and the innermost being the sanctum sanctorium. If you had gone with the root word method, SANC of sanctum, sanct, is a root word which means sacred or holy. You might have also come across many other words with the same root word like sanctify, sanctification, sanctorium, etc. And if by phrases method, you would have come across the word sanctum sanctorium, the holiest of the holy. Or probably you were reading a passage about the Jewish tabernacle or the rituals and came across this word sanctum sanctorium in a phrase or a sentence like this: the chief priest enters the sanctum sanctorium of the tabernacle only once a year, and made an intelligent guess that probably this place is a very private place for the chief priest or very holy and a sacred place. Whatever was the approach towards a new word, I would also like you to recollect now how it helped you and what is the outcome of such an approach. Did you learn the definition of the word or the meaning of the word or the usage of the word, or you only have the vague idea about the meaning of the word which you guessed or assumed? Or do you have a good knowledge about the origin, the history, the meaning, the usage, and the synonyms, etc.? To put it very simply, if I were to ask you the meaning of the word today, what would be the answer that you would give me? Of a word that you learned 2 years back, if I asked you to tell me the meaning of the word now, would you give me the definition of the word, or the meaning of the word, the usage, or the historical background? In all probability, if the word that you learned 2 years back has become a part of your active vocabulary, you would be giving me the synonyms of the word. Word that you learned 2 years back with the help of the historical background or the origin of the word or a dictionary or the usage of the word, it might be that over the passage of time of 2 years, the word has become a part of your active vocabulary, and today, when asked for the meaning of the word, you tell the synonyms of the word rather than explaining the word in sentences or giving the definition or the usage or the historical background of the word. And it is quite natural because that's the psyche of vocabulary building. It is my further endeavor in this module to take the help of this psyche of vocabulary building to demonstrate a strategy where an extensive repository of vocabulary can be built. The psyche behind the vocabulary building is that when we come across a new word, that word is cross-checked with every available word in our brain and is set up or stocked up, piled up with the word which is closest and the simplest of its meaning. To tell it in simple terms, our brain registers the word's meaning with the help of its synonyms. So, keeping this psyche of vocabulary building as a backdrop, let me demonstrate a strategy wherein an extensive repository of words can be built with less effort. As a part of this demonstration, step 1, I would want you to Listen to this audio wherein a word is being explained and list the meanings of the word one below the other. Write the first word or the new word at the top and write its meaning one below the other. I hope you have a pen and a paper ready to write down these words. Write the first word or the new word at the top and the other words that you hear as meaning or the words of explanation for this new word, write down below it one after the other, making it like a list. Let's begin. Dear friends, one of the most frequently asked words in vocabulary section of competitive examinations is erudite. I repeat, erudite. E-R-U-D-I-T-E. I hope you got the pronunciation right. It is erudite. The meaning of the word is having or sharing profound knowledge, a learned, scholarly, profound, enlightened, or a highbrow. An uneducated, uncultured person is the opposite of erudite. The student found it difficult to follow the erudite lecture. I hope you got the meaning of the word and been able to make the list. I would play the audio once again, just in case you missed a word or two. Complete the list this time over. Dear friends, one of the most frequently asked words in vocabulary section of competitive examinations is erudite. I repeat, erudite. E-R-U-D-I-T-E. I hope you got the pronunciation right. It is erudite. The meaning of the word is having or sharing profound knowledge, a learned, scholarly, profound, enlightened, or a highbrow. An uneducated, uncultured person is the opposite of erudite. The student found it difficult to follow the erudite lecture. Now that you have your list ready, cross check with the one here. After applying step 1 of this strategy, some of my students came up with word group charts like this. The words in black or in capitals are the new words for them, and in explanation of those words, they came up with other words which are enlisted below in red color pen. Some of them are known to them, some new. Let's move on to step 2 of the strategy now. Step 2 is to bring the most simple or familiar word to the top of the list. You already have a word group chart with you now. As step 2, pick up that word which is most familiar to you out of that list and bring it to the top of the list. Instead of the new word at the top of the list, you will be writing the most familiar word out of that list as at the top of the list. Your word list now might look something like this. If your top word is not learned, it might be scholarly or enlightened or profound. And that word at the top is the most familiar one out of the words in the list. To exercise this step 2, 1 and 2, let me give you another example. I'll play the audio of another new word and I want you to employ step 1 and step 2 of the strategy and make a new word group list. Step 1 is to write the new word and its meaning below it, one after the other. And step 2 is to pick up the most familiar and simple verb and bring it to the top of the list. Here we get started.
Dear learner friends, let me introduce to you another very important word commonly asked in competitive examinations like ISET and IBPS. The word is insipid. I repeat, insipid. INSIPID. Meaning lacking in taste, flavor, or tang, anything which is vapid, tedious, prosaic, jejune, and banal. So opposite to delicious, poignant, savory, piquant, and palatable. His campaigns were the most insipid liberal campaigns.
I hope you've been able to make the new word group. After step 1, your list might look like this. If you've been able to pick a simple or the most familiar word out of the list and make it as the top word, well and good. But there is also a possibility that all the words in the list are new to you, in which case, in the explanation of the word, they had given you clues of what the word might be meaning. Say, for example, in the explanation of insipid, there is also explanation about what the opposite meaning words were. So, keeping that in mind, you may change the top word into the non delicious and rewrite the list like this. So, making sure that the top word is always a word which you know and most familiar with, or at least an explanation of the word that you're trying to learn. That there is the final and third step of the strategy, which we'll now look into. The third step is to write the opposite meaning words in a column next to the existing list. The list that you have right now is that of non-delicious and number of words below it. I'm going to play the audio of insipid once again, and this time I want you to write the opposite meaning words in a column next to the existing list. Do not forget to apply the second step, wherein you bring the most familiar word to the top of the list. Here we begin.
Dear learner friends, let me introduce to you another very important word commonly asked in competitive examinations like ISET and IBPS. The word is insipid. I repeat, insipid. INSIPID. Meaning lacking in taste, flavor, or tang, anything which is vapid, tedious, prosaic, jejune, and banal. So opposite to delicious, poignant, savory, piquant, and palatable. His campaigns were the most insipid liberal campaigns.
So this makes the word group complete for insipid and its opposite. Finally, the word group chart would look like this. The words at the top are familiar to us, and there are a number of words below them which we can easily understand now because of the head word. Let me summarize the strategy that I have demonstrated so far. Whenever you come across a new word, write the new word down and list down the same meaning words below it. And step 2, pick up the most familiar word out of this list and make it as a head word. And as a part of step 3, write the opposite meaning words in the column adjacent to it. In doing so, some of my students have come up with word charts like this. The first chart shows you the stepwise procedure, wherein step 1, erudite, was the new word and the other words written below it are used for explanation. In step 2, learned is the word that they picked up as the word familiar to them and the words below it. In step 3, the opposite words are written in the column adjacent to the word learned and its list. In the second chart, you can see a complete word list of truth, falsehood, bold, and timid. And many such word groups can be prepared and always kept accessible. How to use these charts for building up your vocabulary? First, follow the 3-step procedure to make your own word group charts. And as and when you come across a new word, keep updating the chart. Check if the word would fit into any of the groups already existing, just like the mind check goes. If not, prepare a new group for it. And keep these charts always accessible to you, or even in a place where it's always visible to you. And review them regularly, so much so that you have an image of these charts in your brain. Register them with your photographic memory. There are many advantages of this word group charts. This is exactly how the words and meanings are stored in your memory, and they're flexible for updating, and you learn many words with very less effort. And not only employs photographic memory, it even enhances your photographic memory. Through such word group charts, an extensive repository of vocabulary can be built, and only after you've built such an extensive repository could you make those words come into your active vocabulary by adopting other strategies. I wish you all a happy vocabulary building through word groups. Thank you so much.